Hey everybody, welcome back to our video series where we take the Word Wielders, the characters of the unseen, and we're going to break them down for you and show you each one of their gifts and abilities as they progress through the game. We're also going to dive a little bit into their personal weapons and some other unseen rules that you might not have noticed. So I hope these videos are going to be helpful for you guys. Stay tuned. Here's the next one. Alright, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to go over Juniper. Now, Juniper is the Gardens Guardian. She is a seeker, which means whenever she's using any sort of ranged weaponry, which means your weapon's going to have this icon in the upper right hand corner, she's going to get a +1 light boost, which will increase this die by 1. So her starting weapon obviously is going to be a crossbow. She's going to specialize in crossbows. Now this crossbow's ability, I'm just going to go over it really quick, the gift on it. It's a crossbow. It's a distance of 0 to 1, meaning she can shoot from her zone and out one zone. If equipped, you have the gift dual wield crossbow. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab your handy dandy quick guide here that you'll have off to the side, and we're going to look for dual wield. So here it is right here. Dual wield blades, prayers, and crossbows. If both hand slots are equipped with the mentioned weapon type, add a white D20 die to your combat rolls. Your blue die represents your main hand, and your white die represents your alternate hand. If either hand succeeds, the target is hit. The blessings on each card still apply as normal. What that means is, let's just say Juniper finds another crossbow. She prays for discernment, and she gets the humble heart. Now, this is a crossbow, so it can go in your alternate hand. So if you look at the bottom here, main hand, alternate hand, that goes here. Now, when you are making a combat roll, your main hand will always be the blue D20, which is your light die, and this one will have a white. So whenever you're rolling, you're going to roll these two together. Now, only one of these weapons have to hit to be successful. Let's just say you missed with this one, but you got a 15 on this one. That hits your target and it's successful. Let's move on to some of her abilities. So let's just say you get through the blue stronghold door and you earn the blue refinement level, the boots of readiness. You will gain Guide My Hands and Tread Lightly. Let's go over Guide My Hands. Guide My Hands. When dual wielding, you may choose 2 targets, each in different zones, 1 for each hand. If both are successful, you also clear a breach of your choosing. If you hit one and not the other, they do not strike back / spawn strike. If you miss both, the card closest to you strikes back / spawn strikes. Let me give you an example on the board. Okay, so during these demos, I'm going to use painted minis. Keep in mind, when you get the game, you will have unpainted minis. This is what they look like out of the box. But for the sake of this video, we're going to use painted minis because they look better on camera. So, and you can use them as examples when you go to paint your own if you choose to do that. So, Guide My Hands. Guide My Hands means that you can choose 2 targets, 1 for each hand. So we'll pick a target for the blue die, which we're going to go after the King of Suffering, and we're also going to go after this guilt right here. And then you'll choose those, roll at the same time. Now only one has to successfully hit. Since I went after the King of Suffering, but I actually hit the guilt right here, I remove that enemy, and the King of Suffering does not strike back. Now if I had missed both, let's just say I rolled an 8 and a 2, the card or enemy closest to me is going to strike back, so I would have to block this suffering right here. Now let's just say I hit them both. Let's just say that was a 15 and a 20. If I successfully hit him, the monarch moves 1 zone towards the pit. He gets marked. You remove the enemy, and then you get to close a breach of any kind. So there's a few active breaches here. She's going to choose to close the breach of suffering. Juniper also gets Tread Lightly with the blue refinement level. So tread lightly, you cannot be bound, you can still be webbed or shackled. Now, normally, if you are in a zone with an active breach or a monarch or more than 5 cards, which is a horde, you become bound. Any one of these things. So it doesn't matter if it's this one only, this one only, this one only, you will be bound. With Juniper, if you have Tread Lightly, she can freely move in and out of bound zones. Bound means that you cannot move until the enemies that have you bound are defeated. Let's say you beat the Prince of Doubt and you earn your yellow refinement level. Juniper gains Holy Hands Ranged, free action. All ranged weapons / quivers in your armory can be equipped without spending an action. Trading still costs an action. You cannot use this gift during combat or darkness phase. You cannot use this if you are swapping one weapon type for another. Let's just say you've built up your armory throughout the game, and you have a few here. So right now she has, let's just say she has the Wings of Heaven, that's armor, and she has some quivers down here, and those are equipped. And then she has a few bows. Now in here, she has other quivers. She's got some other type of weapons, but she also has a longbow and a few other things that are ranged. Now anything that has the quiver or ranged symbol on top, which is these two here, she can swap out freely without having to spend an action. Normally you'd have to access your armory or pray for discernment to get into your armory, but she doesn't have to do that when dealing with ranged weapons. So she's like, oh, well, before I go into this fight, I'm going to take the light and the darkness, and I'm going to equip that here. Or I might want to take these quivers off and throw some different ones on down here because I'm going after suffering, and this will benefit me in that. So that is Holy Hands. You can access your armory and swap your bows, crossbows, and or quivers out as much as you like. Let's move on to the next thing. Endurance. Endurance is pretty simple. You get to add one extra action per turn. So you're just going to take an action token and add it to your action pool. So you'll have 4 actions rather than 3. All right, that's the Sword of the Spirit. We're moving on to the Shield of Faith, a promise kept. Suffering, or the King of Suffering, cannot take anything from you. You still receive a burden if your guard fails. So in the Unseen, when you are attacking Suffering, and you miss and they strike back, if you fail to guard, they will typically take your weapons. So let's just say she tried to hit her with a Humble Heart and she missed. She will receive a burden and she loses this weapon in the discard. Now, since she has a promise kept, she can attack the Suffering. If she misses, she blocks. If he hits her back, she will receive a burden on the purple refinement level, but she does not lose her weapons. So at the end of the fight, it will look something like that. She received a burden on one, but she did not lose the weapon that she attacked with. Let's move on to the next one. So let's just say she has a burden there, and she earns her next refinement level, which is the Breastplate of Righteousness. That's her purple refinement level. Heaven's Strength ranged. If you miss with a ranged weapon, you have a -1 strike boost. That means whenever you're attacking the enemy and the enemy's strike die is this, it will be reduced by 1. Also, if you have no burdens, you have a +1 light boost. If you don't have any burdens, which she does not at this moment, she gets a +1 to this die, along with any other light boost she might get. Just a reminder, let's just say you're burdened here, and you earn that level. That burden comes off the moment you earn that level. So you can use that tactfully if that's a situation you guys run into. But let's move on. I just wanted to give you that little inside reminder here. Your next level will be the Belt of Truth, which is your black refinement level. Now for Juniper, this is Bladed Wings. Once per turn, you may spend an action to do one of 2 things. 1, target a monarch who is shrouded in darkness with a ranged weapon, or 2, target webs on another wielder using a ranged weapon. You are not webbed on a miss. All right, let's take a look at that. So in this scenario, you have the King of Suffering, and you have a bunch of darkness here, along with Juniper. She's by herself, and there is quite a few darkness in here. Now, normally, this monarch would be shrouded in darkness, meaning any other enemies in that zone are protecting him. You have to take these guys out before you can target the monarch. In Juniper's case, she has Bladed Wings. Once per turn, she may spend an action to do one of 2 things. Target a monarch who is shrouded in darkness with a ranged weapon. So she picks one of her ranged weapons. Let's just say she uses the Thornsea Boar and the Humble Heart because she has dual wielding. And she can just bypass all this darkness and go right for the monarch's head. She gets a 12 and a 5, but with her light boost, she gets a 14. So she hits the monarch, and he moves 1 zone towards the pit, and he gets marked with one of these tokens because he was hit with ranged weapons. So that's how Bladed Wings works. Now let's go for part 2. You can also target webs on another wielder using ranged weapons. So let's just say Kyle over here tries to take a shot at this guilt, and he misses. His guard fails, and he gets burdened and webbed. So over on his card, he will receive a burden over yellow because guilt is yellow, and he will also be webbed. Now, normally, webs can only come off if you pray for deliverance or somebody cuts it off with a blade, but with Juniper having the ability to shoot them off from a distance, she can choose to target Kyle instead. She needs a 12 or better. She uses both of her crossbows. She gets an 11 with her light boost. She gets a 13. So she manages to target the webs on Kyle. Now the player using Kyle can remove the webbed affliction of guilt. Now let's move on to her last but not least final refinement level, which is the white refinement level. Arrows from Heaven. Spend 2 actions to target a darkness card with a ranged weapon. Roll a white 6-sided die with your light die. If your hit is successful, you may remove your target and any additional darkness of the same type, SP any, from the board equal to the white 6-sided die result, ignoring targeting order. Alright, I'm going to give you guys an example of how that works. Let's just say Juniper is right here. And she's surrounded. There's a monarch over here, there's a sickness and a stack of sickness in there. In fact, that's going to be a horde. That's more than 5 cards. I believe this is more than 5 cards too. So, you have a horde over here, you got these guys over there. Now, when she goes to attack, she chooses her main hand to hit this target and her alternate hand to hit that target. She's going to roll both of her light die along with a white d6, and she rolls to hit. She got a 14 and a 6. Now, she hit with this hand. She takes that enemy off of the board. She missed with that one, so nothing strikes back because of dual wield, but she also gets to take that mini guilt off of the board because she targeted and hit a guilt. So she gets this one, and she also gets to take any other guilt up to the total of that white die. So since she needs one more, she can look through each deck and take what she needs. So ultimately, she took out 3. You can take out up to 6. Let's just say she rolled a 6, she could go through this pile and take out any guilt in there. So there's another one and another one. And I think that's maxed out. So that, guys, is how Arrows from Heaven works. And that concludes today's video, guys, for Juniper. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Keep in mind that we're going to be doing more of these videos, one for every character, so that's 9 videos. I'm going to try to put one up a week. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Check us out on the unseengame.com. And remember, the game is available now. And we're going to be doing some other videos on how to play PvP and some other things. If you liked this video, if it was helpful for you, please like, subscribe, post, share. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.